but I'm staying hunting scare worlds like it's Moby Dick. I'm known for this, repeat like it's Groundhog Day. Wait till my life will be future-proof. They know I got drive, so that's why they call me Subaru.
Just hopped in the isekai. I was looking at me like he's the guy. I'm the opponent they beaten by. No need to try, just look at how Badia died. I save the drip, no aqua when I've been revived. Bring the pain and darkness you see tonight. Damn, that the shack at the walls of a tractor. Now I woke up to a chick in a tractor. Your chick like Megumin, way that she just wanna bang. Soon as we done, she laid down on the floor. You can tell that she can't even stand. They know to fear me, I'm ready to steal. They can tell by the moves on my head. Nito boxed up in my room, now I'm deep in the box of the goddess that watches this land. Ay.
I'm armored up for all situations, +3 and still upgrading. They paint me out to be something hated, still most effective. There's no debating the greatest shield, and I'm blocking ya. And no one checking me except for Atalia. Nah, they love me and I'm making a kill 'em, but never get it twisted. I be moving like a villain. Everything that's on you, if you doing something shady, gon' be mine when I'm finished. I ain't hearing ifs or maybes. Y'all can say you think I'm crazy, it's just how I do my shit. I ain't get this strong by sitting round, and that's just what it is. Bang.
Up in some shot free, we came to party. Haters like them because I got them salty. I got a smart mouth, they wanna harm me. Staff for the wise out, I got it on me. We got a keen edge over about any team. Well, fuck the gang and I'm not for my enemies. On bond hostage, you better stop it. Glasses that shine when I'm strategizing, know it's surviving. I'm 23 and I feel like a king. I got a shorty do any and everything for me. I think her name is Akatsuki. She call me master and get on her knees. Beat anyone up for me. Astral hypnosis in sleep. I might pull up in the Griffin. Boy, I'm as fly as can be.
Yeah. Itami, girls call me daddy. Roll with a major elf and Shinigami. Run up in the gate, bare face, no bally. And I punch up a princess, I will know Harry. But a gun to a sword fight if they try me. If I run, then it's alright, never find me. Jietai, Kari no Genie Te. Kaku, Tatakairi. And I'm residing in the special region, dealing with the fire breathing demon leading military teams. While the politicians scheming, but my hobby is a reason, it's a mission that I'm seeking. I'm a born otaku. More than a Yasumi is here that I'm marooned in a world with elves, cat girls, and dragoons. Kingdoms are lagoons, so don't bring war to my core. My platoon will let a C4 blow your force like balloon.
No, you can't do this without me. I'm not just lucky, but from the 1,000, my skill got me here, knocking fortune, no doubt it. While ill fakes are holding the leggings like bouncing, no selling. I don't care what you mean to offer. Never been impressed by the offers. Won't trust an argo with Ben Affleck doesn't start in it. Throw me all your loot now, cause you know I'm winning. If you don't surrender now that I'm taking it from your core. Scrabble to survive, but instead of this thing was for. Got your mind in a whack, you the coping mechanisms, and I hope that there's a corporate record see you. I've been dope after saying you and your crew about strategic maneuvers. Dominating your city, you're in the hood like a sooner. If you wanna step to me, it's just a lot of Akuna Matata. Not worried about you, that should on your illusion.
It's a problem I call Benny Marvel. Youngin' got the burner. All you pigs is acting gluttonous. The ones I gotta murder. If you lying on my name, you'll be dying all the same. Wanna slash your dog cap up, now he looks like Bobby Smurder. I keep the green around me, I'm surrounded by my goblins. Look, this isn't Nick, but you see slime when I go poppin'. I'm not a lone wolf, I move like Ranga when I'm mobbing. When you start rap, it's not a manga when the volume dropping.
Look, I just begotten a battle of wits. Now I'm taking over Discord. Mind sharper than a pitchfork. If you ain't with it, no discord. A true challenge, what I itch for. But the ops are really trying to boast. They look like Izuna won't run from my shooter. Gon' leave him like Riku. They stuck with the ghost. You cannot fuck with my unit. We moving through all of you squares like a 3D chess piece. Ain't take a L since the day I was born. You could bring all your cheats and you still couldn't best me. Trying to come at the king, then you better be ready. Cause I say the word, you get sent into orbit. I live for the game. If you trying to play me, the situation getting more.
Where does my enemy stop?
I think it's 10.
Then I go for 1,000. Always be careful, I check my surroundings. When there's no enemy that I ain't counting. Level 1 came in this game OP. And I trained every day, got the gains on me. Gotta work fast, can't take the same slowly. Hard work every day, like a brain's go be. Mama mentality, I don't need anyone, I can just do it myself. I don't need anyone hurting, just know that I got you. I promise that I don't need help. Valkyrie thought she would try me, then realized she couldn't. We trained, now we put it to bed. Summon the hero for hire, now nobody's higher. The demon king's gonna be dead.
Tailor the game, someone snatched to my body. Turn to a goner and we get demonic. Many have fallen, but they not forgotten. I call my goblins and up in the common. Got nothing in common with fools at the bottom. All of my knowledge get turned into options. You got a problem, it's enemy spotted. Who is you stopping? Somebody tell him that it's over for him. I ain't tool count, new overlord. If it's war, I'm unleashing these ghostly hordes. Me and my team showing no remorse. I got weapons and slings and a billion blades for the smoke if you trying. So many arms when I call the cocaine. You see me, you dying. You got no class with my golem out, you get infected a lion.
Wake up, looks like a back for death. Cause the cycle's never ending, can I catch a breath? What happens next? I know cause I am the best. Like deja vu when this man resets, I had to check. Trapped in a loop-de-loop, cause with this power my life is all doom and gloom. It's all a mystery, solve it like Scooby-Doo. So I reverse on the track like a Subaru, ayy. wake up, looks like I'm back from death, cause the cycle's never ending, couldn't catch a breath. What happens next starts when the sky resets. I am the best, make a hater cry like Rem. I'ma bring the magic, media, pop cover, decimate the planet. Media, think if I did it again it'd be easier. You won't impress me if you're not Emilia. Right hard in my buzzer, I'm owning it, leaving him charred from the cut when they're blown up. It's call me a white knight like...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fan Battle Cast, where today we're doing a special promotional bonus episode because, very, very soon, the Nebula Theater will be releasing their second episode of their anime versus show, and that episode will be Subaru versus Kazuma. We're very excited. We've been working on it pretty hard. That will be releasing April 10th, so it's coming real soon. And in a few days, you should be getting some trailers and some previews of footage, and it's gonna be a great time. So we're gonna talk about that we're doing a fan battle cast for it. Today, I am your host, as per usual. I am Santi Sherm. With us today, we have the lovely Croat. You've seen him around.
What up?
With us today, you might know them from a couple of servers. We have Strange Fate representing.
Hello.
And who are you debating for today?
I am debating for Subaru Natsuki from ReZero.
Yes. And first time on the show, we're excited to have him. We have Soup. Say hi.
Hey guys, I'm debating Kazuma Saito from Konosuba.
This will be a great time. We saw Soup in a couple of servers. We actually mostly did most of our talking with him in the Nebula Theater community server. So if you want to head over to Plime's channel, join that Discord, it's a great time. And yeah, we just liked what he had to say. He was really knowledgeable, so we want to talk with him about it. I've seen a question in the chat already, which is a very good question. Someone was asking if Subaru gets Beatrice since she's his contracted spirit. Yes. This is Subaru versus Kazuma. Before this debate, Subaru will get the assistance of Beatrice, and Kazuma will get the assistance of Aqua. So it's kind of a Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter style 2v2.
I think that's kind of also just how the matchup should function in general, since for all intents and purposes, Beatrice is kind of just like a part of Subaru's arsenal.
I'm honestly just glad that the leniency has been provided for Konosuba as well, because I think Subaru having Beatrice is probably a bit more concrete than Kazuma having Aqua, because since not necessarily contracted, but they are joined together in a way. But this will be fun. It's better this way, way more debatable.
At the very least, Aqua would be like the thematic parallel to Beatrice in terms of why this matchup exists as it does. So yeah, I think we can just jump right in. Strange Fate, you've been on one of these before, so I'll give you your 60 seconds first.
All right, so this is my chance to introduce Subaru, right?
Yeah, you have 60 seconds to say absolutely whatever you want, completely interrupted. You could introduce the character, give some debates, slander Kazuma, whatever you want.
All right.
Whenever you start talking, I'll start the timer.
All right, and then I guess I'll go into it. All right, so Subaru probably are somewhat familiar with ReZero. It's one of the bigger isekai names out there, but unlike most isekai protagonists, Subaru was not a victim of the dastardly truck. Instead, he was just kind of out of nowhere one day summoned into another world, a fantasy world, where, unlike most isekai protagonists, he was not horrifically broken. In fact, quite the opposite. He's essentially a standard human in a world where everyone has superpowers. The one gimmick, though, is the ability to return by death that he has, which essentially just allows him to keep coming back to life every time he dies. And quite frankly, like it or not, I think that's going to be enough to just win him this debate on its own. Also, in other news, ReZero is getting a new season soon, so that'll be fun. I kind of think that's all I need to do to introduce him.
All right. Playing the relevancy card. I see what we're doing here.
The relevancy card, and yeah, you can't kill him. He'll just come back.
Pretty much.
You will have 60 seconds to be completely interrupted and say whatever you want. As soon as you start talking, I'll start the timer.
All right. So Kazuma, he's a notoriously not a very well liked character, so to say, which is kind of unfortunate since I'm out here repping his outfit. But regardless, I think Kazuma is one of the most versatile, most intelligent, most creative isekai protagonists. Like in all of the genre, he's has a large amount of abilities that will be able to put down both Subaru and Beatrice. Um, of course, I think we know his backstory. But something about Kazuma is that beneath all of the general assholery, he's a pretty decent guy, somewhat, a little bit, kind of. Yeah.
I like how your 60 seconds was mostly dedicated to defending his character more than anything else.
I might have to go into that a bit more
Listen.
later, you know.
Listen, we all know Kazuma's an asshole, but like, let's not get carried away. He has his moments.
Yeah.
All right. So I think Kazuma and Subaru might not be the most well-known character in versus circles, at least. So I think a good place to start would be just if you guys could kind of describe, in general, in like a combat scenario, how these duos fight. So just kind of starting with Subaru again. What does Subaru do like in a fight? What's he normally got to work with?
All right, so Subaru's biggest strength is the ability to return by death, which was granted to him when he was summoned to the world that he is now in. Return by death is, in a way, it's sort of like a save state in a video game. Every time he dies, he essentially returns to usually the start of the fight or a little bit before a fight begins, but with the catch that he now has previous knowledge from every death that he has. So usually his approach to battle is, as he continues to die and respawn, he gains more and more knowledge of what his opponent is capable of and begins formulating a strategy of how to beat them. On his own, he has a few tricks up his sleeve. He is fairly capable with a whip, and he does have a slight bit of magic to him. Though, for the most part in combat, he also is usually aided by Beatrice, his contracted spirit, who is absurdly versatile. So she's usually the one handling most of the combat, while Subaru is the one figuring out a plan that takes his opponent down. All while being pretty subtle about hiding how his powers work. To this day, I don't think anyone in ReZero outside of people aware of Satella are capable of knowing what Return by Death even is to begin with. Most people just think he's got really good intelligence, which he also does. He's very perceptive of opponents.
And Satella is basically the like god entity that facilitates the respawns, right?
Yeah, she is the one that summoned him into the world of ReZero, and she is the one that granted him Return by Death. The way it works is essentially Subaru will keep triggering Return by Death until Satella just decides that she doesn't want him anymore, which even now, after who knows how many deaths, still hasn't happened.
Yeah, because hasn't it been like thousands of times at this point? Because
I remember the anime mentioned something like 60-something times, but I believe, if I'm remembering correct, I think in one of the light novels he mentioned it's been at least 1 million.
Yeah,
because this motherfucker's died 1 million times in his own story.
Because not to spoil too much, but there is one point in the story where y'all ever do that thing in a video game where you quick save like a half a second before you get blown up by a grenade, and then you're just like stuck in a loop and you can't get out of it, and then you have to eventually go like an earlier save an hour ago and lose a bunch of your progress.
I'm a Pokemon player, so I'm all too familiar with that.
Yeah, that happened to Subaru one time where like he was getting killed like immediately after he respawned, and it took like an absurd amount of times for him to get out of it because he cannot just reload a previous save. He's stuck with what he's got.
Yeah. Oh, it is also worth noting, Subaru is the only one really that is aware of events from previous slot reeves. No one else is aware of it because it's quite literally just reloading.
Yeah. So Subaru's got a little bit of magic. Beatrice has a lot more magic, and Subaru's mostly providing like strategy and the immortality.
Yeah, you could think of it as kind of like a Pokemon trainer and their Pokemon in a way. If the Pokemon could learn way more than 4 moves.
Okay. How does Kazuma normally fight? What's Kazuma have to work with?
All right. So remember that kindness and wholesomeness that I tried to form. Let's toss that away for now. Kazuma is an asshole. Yeah, he when he's put in like a fight like this, he is going to be trying to end the fight as soon as possible. Yeah. Um, like this isn't even like an uncommon thing. Basically, every fight he's had, from what I remember at least, he tries to end it as soon as possible. He's incredibly intelligent, of course. He has the second highest intelligence stat on his party behind Megumin. He's so intelligent, in fact. He shocked a lot of Demon King generals, those who have hundreds of years of experience. He's shocked people way stronger than him than I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Mitsurigi, whatever. He had the funny little powerful sword that and Kazuma has defeated him more than twice now. Basically, he's really smart and he tries to end stuff as soon as possible. Now, he's in terms of magic, I said before, but Kazuma is extremely versatile. Yeah. The thing is, though, his magic is rather weak on its own because he's a low level guy pretty much. He's not as lucky as he may be. Still he still needs to grind a lot to actually get his stats up. So he's not as strong as Darkness. He's not as potent as Megumin. Not as fast as Beldia, stuff like that. That said, he has 2 ways to mitigate those disadvantages. Number one, he has Manonite. I think I pronounced it right. This is like magic little gem. It enhances his magic power to like obscene degrees. Allows him to basically cut away a lot of like disadvantages that he would have. For instance, explosion. Spoiler, sorry. Kazuma learns explosion, which is of course the most powerful spell in the entire of Konosuba, pretty late. And when he does learn it, he needs like a lot of time to even set it up and everything. Takes like obscene amount of time, and at that point he might as well not even use it at all. With Manonite, he cuts the time limit pretty short. I don't remember the exact time, but I do think it takes around 20 seconds without Manonite. So he casts quicker, he casts stronger moves that wouldn't be effective before, and now like suddenly 10 times more effective. The second way to mitigate that is with his partner, Aqua. Now, she has the reputation of being the useless goddess and all of that, but she's capable of, I'll get more into her abilities later, but she definitely helps mitigate the Kazuma's disadvantages. They pretty much complement each other extremely well. So, yeah.
So we've brought a couple of things here. You've mentioned that Kazuma's lucky, and that's not just like a character trait thing. That's like a literal stat in the game, right? He has like supernaturally good luck.
Yeah. From what I remember, I think only Ares, who is like the literal deity of luck, has more than him. His luck allows him a lot of his abilities to work way better than they should, as well on people even far stronger than him. It's pretty potent. I wanted to quickly get something out of the way because I'm sure it was going to be brought up. Aqua, of course, in direct contrast to Kazuma, has famously low luck, super low luck, in fact. The problem is that while this affects Kazuma if he wants to go to a casino or something, in fact, that did happen. It has never actually affected him in combat. They fight alongside each other. He uses moves that require his luck. Hell, he has used these moves on Aqua before, and they've never really like failed because of Aqua is demoting his luck. So it's more of like a daily life thing, which to someone like Kazuma is probably worse, to be honest, than just having her affect his combat. So, I just wanted to get that out of the way.
So just to make sure I get it right, I haven't seen either show. You're saying that I got it right. Kazuma is so lucky that Aqua's own unluck just doesn't matter.
No, it's just that Aqua's luck only really affects him, like, doing other stuff. Like, it just doesn't affect him in combat.
But not fighting.
Yeah, not fighting. It has
Okay.
never, not even like the final battle or anything. Never ever affected him. Yeah.
And you've also brought up the explosion spell, which I think will be very important for this debate. If anyone doesn't know what the explosion spell is, it's basically, if you know Final Fantasy, it's flare. It's basically a nuclear explosion that like covers an enormous radius and is like the most powerful attack in the series. It's the tailed beast bomb of Konosuba. It's and Kazuma is with his mana rocks, which are basically RPG buff items, can let him cast it a couple of times, I believe.
Yeah. So of course we know Megumin's explosions are much stronger than Kazuma's, but famously Megumin only casts once. That's pretty sad. That makes her pretty useless most of the time, and everyone laughs at her for it. But when Kazuma starts to buy a bunch of mana knights to use, specifically in the final battle, Megumin is able to continuously just keep on nuking the Demon King's castle. Why didn't it destroy it completely initially? It's because a bunch of people pretty much like directly below the Demon King created some giant fuck of force field, which is why Megumin did have to continue with that. So just to be clear though, higher spells like explosion, if Kazuma were to use it, he could use it multiple times, but there's a caveat of like, if he uses it a bit too much, he starts to get a bunch of injuries, his wrist starts to hurt, internal bleeding. Both of these, now that I think about it, sound pretty contrasting in their effectiveness. Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
We get what you're saying. Axel Aliens was wondering how far Subaru is going back since Return by Death varies. I think it'd be fair to say, like, relatively at, like, the start of the fight, or maybe, like, 30 seconds beforehand or something. It's not going to be, like, he gets a day to prepare or something.
So there's no set, like, time frame for, like, how far it will always go back, but he's never, like, it's never, like, triggered to respawn him right in the middle of a battle. It's always at least, it's always been at most maybe, like, an hour or so before a battle.
Right.
And even that's usually like for really big battles, like against the White Whale, for example. It's usually just some vague time before the battle begins.
So
I do feel like for a fight like this, an hour is a bit extreme,
I don't think we would give Subaru any like prep time if he had the advantage. I think we would just give him like, oh, he knows that the fight is about to start. Like, that's the amount of time we would give him. Like, we would give him to second 0 of the death battle animation.
Yeah. The big thing is I imagine in a case like this, he'd probably be given the ability to at most respawn like maybe a minute before the fight begins.
Yeah, like a minute makes sense.
Yeah.
So something that you've mentioned that I'm sure people are wondering if they're listening to this is, well, Subaru is completely unable to die. How could Kazuma possibly bounce off of that? Does Kazuma have any revive options?
I didn't really want to get into the revives yet.
We can save that for later then if you want.
Yeah, what I do want to get into before like going into like his stats and stuff, if you can please pull up Kazuma's win cons against Subaru specifically.
Kazuma's win cons against Subaru. Oh, this was a video, right?
Stops to catch breath. It's sleep in general and wild.
This is such a long list.
Teleport explosion.
That's a pretty good win condition.
Yeah, so that's the general gist. I will go a bit into everything else now. Using like the main stuff. Let's see, bind. Very useful, very awesome. It's an ability based on luck, skill, and physical power. Kazuma's luck, of course, allows him to bind opponents even far stronger than him. Pretty cool guy. He has the ability to disarm and like detect traps. He can detect enemies. He has like some sort of spider sense. It's kind of weird. He can use the lurk ability. Really important. This is like invisibility, of course. But it also hides the user's scent and killing intent. Something that is really useful for this next ability, deadly backstab. I think you saw it pop up a lot in the funny little video, but deadly backstab is kind of like an instant death. If Kazuma is able to catch you unaware and hit you with this spell, you die instantly. It's like, yeah, it's death manipulation. It's not even like just like a Duran egg, pretty much. He has escape, which pretty much actually buffs all of his stats to help him run away specifically. He can hear conversations from afar. He can read people's lips. He can create giant golems. He has a good amount of elemental magic. He can heal himself, though his heal isn't anywhere near Aqua's, but it is better with Mana Knight, of course. He can blind people with flash, put them to sleep with sleep. He can also, see ghosts, see very far, all of that. The last two, I wanted to talk about a bit more. First of all, we have the auto evade, which is famously, it's kind of like Kazuma's Ultra Instinct. Now he's able to dodge attacks that he wouldn't normally dodge. And you guessed it, it's based off his luck, which is why this thing is incredibly OP for him specifically. Now, that said, it's not like it's going to be working for Kazuma all of the time. Say someone like Eris, who has luck superior to Kazuma, had this skill, she would probably have it work like 98% of the time. Kazuma should be somewhere around the 95 towards 90 range. But yeah, this ability is very, very, very useful. You learn so much later. Then there's teleport. Kazuma can set a bunch of waypoints, and he can pretty much teleport himself and other people, whether or not they consent to that, instantly. This teleportation can even extend across interdimensional ranges. Take Eris room, for example, which Kazuma has a waypoint over there. That's a nice little tool that's going to be useful later. And explosion. Explosion is also there.
Explosion's very helpful.
Very helpful. So yeah, Kazuma is very good at combining these. In fact, apart from his assholery, he's very good at combining his spells. He combines these supposedly useless spells to make them useful, and he starts linking them up together, like the combos that were present in that nice little video you saw. Once he starts getting into the rhythm, he's going to really, really mess Subaru up, and it's going to need a lot of miracles to really get out of that. Yeah.
Kazuma is basically kind of a min-maxed D&D player where he uses his spells in very smart, creative ways. And because his luck stat is so high, his spells have a habit on working people that would normally be too strong for those spells to work on. So it's a very effective combo. We've heard a lot of magic that Kazuma has. Do I kind of want to get into like Subaru's magical spells and Beatrice and what they'll be doing in a
Oh, do you
fight.
want me to get into all the stuff for Beatrice?
Yeah, sure, that'd be good.
All right, I'm gonna have you probably be pulling up a lot of images then.
I will be at the ready.
It's
All
the
right.
scanner whore.
All right, can we start out by pulling up Beatrice's BFR? All right, so in this instance, Beatrice was able to use the spell Al Shamik, which essentially selects an area around a target and just banishes them to another dimension, not to be seen. In this case, it was used against the Great Rabbit Horde, which is one of the deadliest beasts in all of ReZero. Anyone who's seen it probably knows why it's one of the most vile things in the series.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but every time you say a rabbit's dangerous, I think of Monty Python Quest of the Holy Grail.
Understandable. But it also, if I remember correctly, in the anime, it also covered a massive space. I think it covered at least several miles, so yeah, good luck dodging that. Number 2, Beatrice's transmutation. This is another simple spell. Beatrice simply just has to hit her target once, and immediately it turns whatever gets hit by it into crystals, which are incredibly brittle and shatter upon contact with anything. In this case, it was done against the assassin Elsa, not from Frozen. And specifically also, it utilizes Minya, which are arrows that are frozen in time, essentially, so they quite literally can't be dodged. The next one up is Attack Nullification, which comes from the spell EMM. This one is fairly similar. This one is fairly simple. It does prevent Subaru or Beatrice from attacking while it's active, and the way it's exactly described is it puts them on a plane of existence where any attack targeted at them, be it physical or magical, is completely nullified. There's El Shamik, which quite literally robs people of their strength to keep fighting. I'd also like to get into the counter to Kazuma's stealth quickly, if you could pull up that clip.
I feel like I gotta take notes. This is a lot.
So what exactly is happening here?
Beatrice has a supernatural ability that lets her detect the presence of someone even if she can't see them. So in this case, Elsa quite literally got right behind her without even her presence being noticed, and yet she was still completely knocked back by a pulse of magic.
So Beatrice is just aura farming. Gotcha.
Pretty much.
So I'm getting that they have a lot of good, just kind of end the fight instantly spells.
Yeah, if you do want to get into some more stuff that could probably end the fight instantly, Beatrice can essentially trap people in an infinite loop. Not a time loop, but like a literal looping space. This was something she specifically did to Subaru. Essentially, it's like creating a pathway that just goes on and on forever. The only way to get taken out of it is to get hit out of it.
It's like a really weird version of Gojo's Infinity, where instead of being unable to approach someone, you just can't approach anything ever.
That's one way to think of it. What I've always thought of it being more similar to is, the stairs from Mario 64, the ones that go on forever.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
It's like that.
So you're saying there's a counter where you got like reverse long jump?
I don't know if that would work. No one's ever done that.
I don't think Kazuma knows how to BLJ.
I don't think Kazuma knows how to I don't know if Kazuma knows how to pull that off.
I mean, you never know.
She theoretically has time acceleration. Specifically, she can supposedly age people up.
Theoretically, has she ever done this?
No, but she has threatened to do it.
Oh, okay.
Specifically on someone's scalp to make them a racist.
Yeah.
I was about to say it says skinhead.
That's most of the basic stuff for now. I do have some other stuff that I'll get into potentially later. The one final thing I'll get into is it was mentioned, I believe, that Kazuma can send people, that Kazuma can like teleport people. To counter that, because if I'm correct, I believe this leads, if I'm remembering correctly from other times I've seen this debate, I've seen people bring up the idea of Kazuma sending Subaru to the afterlife with that. So I will quickly counter that with Subaru can just quite literally trigger return by death by taking his own life. And even if he's in another dimension, Satella could still just trigger return by death to bring him back to the fight, because she quite literally had to reach into another dimension to yoink him from the real world into the world of ReZero.
Quick question. About that quickly. Has he ever done something like that? Where
Yes, he has.
Another dimension, killed himself, and then.
Not in another dimension, but he has triggered return by death by killing himself. He did slit his throat once with a piece of glass.
Right. But outside of him being teleported, initially, he's never killed himself in one dimension and gone back to the initial.
He's never had to, so no, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to be able to do that.
All right. I was just curious if it happened.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because both characters are kind of dealing with entities and spells that can like teleport across dimensions, so there's a little bit of it's a pretty easily translatable thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I do want to. I've only talked about Kazuma a little bit. I do want to get into the MVP of this fight. Useless Goddess
Aqua
Aqua
has never been called the MVP in anything.
Yeah,
and she never will.
So let me tell you a very fun fact about Aqua. Actually, she has like canon plot-induced stupidity. So it's like she has all of these broken abilities that she's had like since the very beginning of the show, but she just kind of forgets that she does. So usually it's up to like Aries or something to remind her. It happens in the final battle. I'll get to that after I talk about a bit of her abilities. First of all, is heal. Compared to Kazuma's Dollar Tree heal, Aqua can instantly heal limbs, replace them completely. Basically any non-fatal injury is like pocket change. She like can do it instantly, fatal injuries might give her a run for her money, maybe to take 2 seconds instead of 1 second. She's healed Kazuma from actual giblets, like just random remains from when he wasn't completely eviscerated from an explosion. She's healed Kazuma from his disassembled skeleton. Her heal is kind of just incredibly broken. The next one is Turn Undead. Might not be very useful here because there's no undead people. Pretty much it sends undead to the afterlife pretty much instantly. Blah blah blah. Not useful here. Sacred Highness heal is heal, but even better somehow. So there's that. She has like layered super broken healing. So now let's get into some of the even better ones.
Clime's
Magic
just bringing
Circle.
up that Aqua once revived Kazuma when he lost 30% of his body.
Yeah, that's the giblets parts that I'm talking about. It was like remains, just random scraps and stuff. So another thing she can do, she can turn objects small for no reason. She can just shrink things. She has a hammer space where she can just she's pulled out an entire piano from before. She can she can use her.
Right here.
That's gonna be one of the deaths. Is that just a piano falls on Subaru?
Shit. He's
Kazuma
trying to
throws her up in
Coyote.
the air and she just starts dropping shit.
She can use the buff ability. This is extremely useful. It's circles back to the part that I talked about covering all of Kazuma's bases. Because apart from Kazuma already having Manonite and Evania Mask, which also increases his physical power and magic power, Kazuma can also have his luck buffed. Yeah, his already broken luck can be buffed further by Aqua. His power can be buffed. His speed can be buffed. Physicals can be buffed. His magic resistance, which is very important, can be buffed. And it can also give Kazuma the ability to mimic voices. Not that useful here. She has a spell that reflects projectiles. It's omnidirectional, kind of useful for the undodgeable ultra time crystal things. She has a spell called Force Fire, which basically forces her opponent to focus on her while Kazuma does his stuff in the background. Useful when we get to her resistances. Because now we'll talk about the two most important spells. Number one is Resurrection. Yep. She can completely override the rule of reality in Konosuba that dictates that someone can only be revived once. She can kind of just ignore that. She says if any of the goddesses have a problem, they can come and mess with her after she's back in heaven, you know. So now she can just pretty much revive Kazuma as many times as she wants. Though if Kazuma's physical form is completely destroyed, that won't work. That said, she kind of just ignored that as well in the finale when she created him a new body after Kazuma, spoiler, kills himself when using Explosion. And the most important spell here, by far, is Break Spell and Sacred Break Spell. I'm sure we know how those work already, but Break Spell, it dispels all magic, all skills, and all curses. And she can even use this as magic is being cast. So, using an example from the Konosuba bonus OVA, a water spirit is about to cast some massive gust of wind that is going to like cover an entire island. Aqua just says, Sacred Break Spell, and then the casting completely stops, the magic effects completely stops. Notably, the mana of the spirit is still completely wasted. So it's like basically nullifying your spell, but then you're still spending the mana that is needed. The context behind that is that the guys, Kazuma included, wanted the winds to blow up some skirts and something like that. I swear it's defensible. Yeah, because of that, she literally didn't have enough mana anymore after that point to use this again. So you might be asking, these are some like pretty OP stuff. How many times can she use this? Surely she has to get tired. A, infinite stamina. B, infinite mana, because she's a goddess. It's crazy, man.
I do like that, just part of the lore, which is like there's limits on the magic of resurrection, but not in terms of like the magic literally can't do it. It's more like deity legal magic. Like you can't do this because it's the rules, like Fairly Odd Parents. But because Aqua's like technically in charge of most gods, just like I don't care, just let it rock, let it happen.
Yeah.
So the one revive rule is completely ignored.
With that said, I wanted to talk about Aqua's magic resistance here. In fact, I have a kind of story about this, but a bit of a table here. I got all of Biko's spells and stuff, and I have notes here on how she counters all of them. So let's go through them. First things first, every single spell Beatrice has can be dispelled by Sacred Break Spell. If Break Spell alone wouldn't just work, and again, Aqua can just keep on spamming that. But we'll go into like individual stuff. Age manipulation. Of course, we know Biko doesn't actually do this, but assuming she can, Aqua is immortal, so that won't work. It will work on Kazuma though. Illusions can be dispelled, and Aqua resists that. In terms of like the gigantic groom stuff, Aqua can't really resist that, so to say, but if she hits a break spell, it's gone. Water and wind magic, Aqua is resistant to elemental stuff, so completely ineffective. And break spell. Teleportation, not really potent enough to get out of heaven, at least Beatrice herself. Of course, there's still the argument that Subaru could kill himself before doing anything, but there's some specifics about heaven that I'll get into a bit later that could prevent that from happening. Vita, Aqua resists that, Kazuma doesn't. Alshamak and Olshamak, this one is very notable. Kazuma has teleportation, so he can get out of that. Aqua resists being BFL. In fact, she resists being forcefully teleported at all and breaks spell. Aqua also is resistant to Elshamak. This would work on Kazuma though. Olminia, I think I've already mentioned Reflect. That will help. It's an omnidirectional stuff. Kazuma can also counter with walls and golems and stuff. I do think this would hurt Kazuma, but Aqua coincidentally is also immune to transmutation. Time Stop. Characters in Konosuba that have really high magic resistance can resist time stops. Kazuma doesn't. Aqua does. So she resists that as well and breaks spell. I didn't have anything on EMM since they wouldn't really be affected by that. So I'm just going to ignore that. EMT can also be dispelled, but say that it didn't erase all of their mana. That wouldn't be very useful in my opinion because, well, I'm not sure about Kazuma, but I think Aqua is probably physically stronger. Plus, Kazuma just has like an obscene amount of weapons and stuff. And of course, Aqua still has the hammer space and everything. So I'm not even sure if removing everyone's magic would be a good idea. It's not like it will work on Aqua anyway, resistant to power nullification. And just to rub this in, Aqua can kind of just buff her magic resistance and stuff as well. She can also buff herself. So in case she somehow gets affected, she can just do that. Pretty much, in general, I don't think any of Beatrice's abilities actually would do anything as long as Aqua is on the field. And even if they didn't, she can just dispel them, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
if I remember correctly, there's a video game which is now officially like it's an official Konosuba game where Aqua is like incapacitated and brainwashed and unable to ask the gods to revive Kazuma. But the god who like Kazuma is
Ares?
forced to go, Eris, yeah.
Yeah.
Eris is like, normally Aqua tells us to bring you back now, but she's not saying anything, but she probably would want us to send you back and would be mad after whatever is keeping her incapacitated blows over, so we're just gonna send you back now because we don't want to deal with that trouble. So would we say in a fight that even if Aqua was like incapacitated, Kazuma would still probably come back, or would that be like outside help?
She Kazuma can go as far as threatening her actually. Again, he's a good guy, I promise guys. But that would work pretty much. He can just kind of threaten or nicely, kindly convince Eris to just bring him back. Although I do doubt Aqua would have a way to be incapacitated in the first place, considering all of her stuff, you know.
She does have a lot of stuff.
Someone in the chat just asked, the question is, would Aqua be smart enough to fight like this?
That's a valid question.
Thing. It's a very valid question. I do have an answer written down here, I think. Okay, number one. So when it comes to combat, Aqua is pretty flamboyant, so to say. She's like, oh, I'm a goddess. You guys can't do shit. She is kind of right, but she also kind of disadvantages the party because of that. And of course, there's also the sense of her forgetting she has all of this stuff. That said, I do think this would be using the end of series stuff. This is when Aqua is now fully aware that, wait a minute, I'm that girl. I'm him. I'm her. You know, she knows like what she actually does possess and stuff, which is why against the Demon King, back to spoilers again, she goes as far as stealing an entire army worth of like soldiers and like demons and high generals and even the demon king himself. She mass seals all of their power because Ares is like, wait a minute, Aqua, can't you seal powers? Hasn't that always been a thing? She's like, oh yeah. In terms of like combat stuff, I don't think in the battle to the death that Aqua is going to be pulling punches. Even if she somehow did, back to the complimenting thing, Kazuma is around. If Aqua starts tries to do her rubbish and nonsense, Kazuma is just smacks her on the back of the head. He's a nice guy, I swear. But Kazuma, it would probably be able to keep her in check should she decide to not be serious. But I have no doubt that she would be serious, especially against someone like Beatrice. I feel like she would really want to prove a point against Beatrice specifically because, like, Beatrice is going to be looking at her and be like, "Oh, look at this sniveling child, man." I mean, she is kind of a sniveling child, so she is kind of right about that. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. That's
Sorry, the chat's kind of funny. Shopping was because you tell me they lock in the last minute.
Yeah, that's it. It's so funny. Everyone just becomes like hyper competent in like the final battle. It's so cathartic to see, and it really helps me here because it kind of removes all of that. Of course,
that big part of the debate is now gone. It's just like, yeah, they can lock in. They can lock in.
Yeah.
I think it's Konosuba is one of the funniest anime just in general. It's like, in terms of just pure comedic value, it's probably like top 3 for me. It's real good. We have been talking about Kazuma and Aqua for a bit, and I do like how we're kind of establishing that Aqua and Beatrice are clearly the ones with like the most powerful magic to work with here, while Subaru and Kazuma are kind of like the strategists. So your earlier comparison to a Pokemon battle is sounding more and more appropriate as this fight goes on. Is there any more you want to talk about with specific magic Subaru and Beatrice have access to, or do we kind of want to move on to other tertiary factors?
If we want, we could probably get into stats right about now.
Yeah.
Because right now, where I'm at right now, based on what y'all are telling me, is that they both have theoretically a lot of ways to physically kill each other and a lot of ways to kind of counter and deal with each other's magic. And there seems to be a similar level of one of them's very strategic and the other one's less strategic but has a lot of options. So just based on what I'm hearing, they seem to be fairly evenly matched ability-wise. So I guess we can go into stats now if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah.
All right. First?
I will do the honors of letting my opponent go first if you would like to.
Are we sure?
I'm feeling generous.
Yeah, if you insist. Can you bring up high-end AP for this wonderful world?
High-end AP for this wonderful world.
Okay, so this is the movie feat done by, I think it was Rena back in the day. Big thank you to Gamer Brutality for helping me find this. I wanted to talk about it a bit. I know a lot of people have problems with it because of like the creator and stuff. I've seen a prediction blog. It's kind of outdated if you ask me though, because it was made a few years ago, but it did bring a lot of valid points about like the creator itself and like the size of everything, the inconsistencies with where Kazuma and Megumin were standing. The problem is that this calc isn't focused on any of that. It's focused on the dispersion of the clouds. So this is a calc for the clouds, not for the explosion itself. And when you have the clouds in mind, the calc is pretty accurate and pretty defensible. In terms of like some supporting stuff, weaker spells have said to be able to weaker spells have had calculations up to like the teratons of TNT, like Alice core explosion or meteor drop. Explosion itself has gotten calcs from petatons to teratons to gigatons, basically around that pretty positively high range. Again, I do want to like emphasize that this is not focusing on everything else. It's focusing on clearing the clouds, and this is accurate when it comes to clearing the clouds. Light in terms of speed stuff, both of them have
Just real quick, just for anyone who might not know, in terms of how strong this is, 7.4, 20 exatons is, sorry, not 20, 30 exatons is the baseline for moon levels. This is like a little less than a third of moon levels, so it's getting pretty high up. And you're bringing up a lot of petaton feats. Petaton feats are in like the country to continental ranges. Just so people kind of have an idea of what scale you're putting them at right now.
Glad you were explaining. I was just kind of nodding aimlessly, like, yeah, but I understand how strong these characters are.
I don't mind me. I was just yapping.
This is what the cast's all about. We're all just yapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm still allowed to talk about stats, I also wanted to bring up speed. Unfortunately, I forgot to send the scans for speed. I do have them on my own. I'll just see them from here. Kazuma dodges attacks from the Crystal Liger, who dodges stuff from the Light of Saber. Light of Saber is a light attack in Konosuba. Wiz, who is a wizard who confirmed to be like far weaker than Aqua. She blocks lasers with the wall of ice. Aqua herself has directly blocked beams of light. I think that relativistic towards light speed is pretty okay. I wanted to actually talk about ReZero stats, but I feel like it would be better to have Strange Fate elaborate before I give my opinion on this.
So Soup wants Strange Fate to talk about his stats, so Soup can explain why Strange Fate is a liar and Captain.
All right, so
I wouldn't go that far.
All right, so I'll start out by talking about speed then. Hold on a sec while I find it quickly. Be in my doc. Would you be able to bring up Amelia reacting to light? The multiple images of it, in fact, potentially. So Amelia, to be blunt, Amelia is one of the several characters in ReZero that should be significantly weaker than Beatrice. And yet, throughout the light novel, she's also one of the characters who, as you can see right here, on multiple occasions, has just straight up blocked light rays. There were several other instances I could have brought up from other characters, but this was the one that I felt most confident in bringing up. It quite literally says that they're light-based attacks, and some of the scans straight up also mention them being reflected with mirrors. So it should qualify for light. So that should probably match around the same speed that Konosuba is getting. For strength on the lower ends, once again using Amelia, I don't have a scan for this, but Amelia has created a snowstorm that I believe gets several petatons before. The more important thing I want to bring up is straight up from Beatrice herself. Could you bring up Beatrice's black hole?
Oh, God. A black hole feat.
Yes. I will just let it be right here on the screen. But quite literally, Beatrice does just create a black hole.
The moment immediately after Beatrice's chant had achieved completion, what arose in the space was an enormous, not any black hole, an enormous black hole specifically. That which had appeared all of a sudden in the air manifested as an existence accompanied by the primordial fear, such as its unknown bounds and unknown depths, and tried to swallow Reed, who was right before it.
It is, in fact, a legitimate black hole. I don't believe it's been calced before, but typically even just small black holes alone tend to get vaguely around planet level. And if this one is being taken quite literally at being enormous, I could see it getting even to like star levels of power.
Yeah, black holes can like, based on how like a lot of versus people how powerful those can be, those can like balloon in power dramatically really quickly. Like a black hole that's like a couple times bigger than another one could be like hundreds to thousands of times more energy.
It mainly just has to do with the fact that black holes have an insane amount of mass to them.
Yeah. Like I remember there was a specific Sonic scaling thing I was looking at where like black holes of like only slightly different sizes, which were sizes we can see on screen, were like, well, this 10-foot one should be about planet level, and this 20-foot one should be like solar system level. And I'm like, that escalated very quickly. Yeah.
All right. I wanted to talk a bit about that black hole. I don't have scans for those. I bought scans for the nanosecond feet. So I was assuming you were going to talk about those. But,
No, I don't buy the
now I've
stuff.
just wasted my time. I combed through like the OG translations just to find like the original words and stuff to prove that it says in an instant, not in a nanosecond.
Oh yeah, no, the nanosecond stuff is a mistranslation.
Yeah. The black hole isn't very legitimate, unfortunately, in terms of like feats and stuff. For one thing, it's I guess I'll just use the JJK argument. This is more of a feats based thing. It's a spell, and that can also be dispelled actually, regardless of like how strong it is by Aqua. But that said, this is more of a feats based thing. I'm struggling to remember what I read in the thread that I was combing through, because again, these are not the calcs I prepared for. I didn't actually think you were going to use this one because I assumed most people don't. But
You're outsmarting.
From what I do remember about the black hole calc, I'm pretty sure it's not a real black hole. I don't think it would be counted for her attack potency. Speaking of attack potency, actually, I wanted to quickly talk about Beatrice herself. In terms of like the lower stuff, like pentatons and teratons and stuff, which she theoretically could scale to, we need to realize something very important here. Despite everything, Beatrice is still a child physically. Of course, I know a lot of people are going to bring up the arguments of water magic and wind magic. She pushes Subaru around a little bit, never actually uses wind magic in combat in like a serious way. I'm not going to doubt that she can, but she doesn't, and I don't know why she would. Water magic she hasn't used in even a joking attacking way at all. So let's say theoretically this black hole did count, which in my opinion and in the opinion of like a lot of other people really doesn't. Beatrice doesn't really even have a way to scale to that. She's not physically strong. In fact, she's
it does scale to her magic power.
Cannon. Yeah, I do think it might scale to her magic power, but like again, she's not going to be using that, and everything can be dispelled. So yeah,
just like a Freerin style black hole where like it doesn't actually help stats wise.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I do think the black hole is valid. I am iffy on if she scales to it physically, but regardless, she should still, regardless, even just physically alone, I would say she should still be at least on par with then characters such as Amelia, who has the aforementioned pentaton feat.
Yeah, that's Amelia feat, huh? Let me talk a bit about that. I think I do have some notes for that at least. So the Amelia freezing is kind of based off the assumption that her targets shatter like Puck does. The problem is that the elves themselves are actually perfectly preserved. Amelia herself is intact inside the ice. Pretty much everyone is in like suspended animation. So what this is essentially more of a ceiling thing than an attack potency thing. Say it was an attack potency thing, which again it isn't. This is still kind of the wrong way to calculate it. For one thing, it treated the feat as if Amelia just turned the entire forest into like a solid, dense block of ice. She did freeze a lot of it, but not that much. Another thing is that in lots of problems with like the atmospheric water reference, I wrote a lot of math stuff, but I'm realizing that I probably should have put it in a way that I could explain it better. The calc is pretty much inflated because it assumes like the whole forest is up to like the tree. It assumes that Amelia is freezing up to like the very top of the tree tops. It doesn't account for hollowness and all of that. The calc I do agree with which is in the pentatons, and I think Beatrice can scale to, is Puck's Storms. I do have some stuff against that, but I don't think I'll kind of need to use those. Essentially, I think Pentaton's residual is pretty strong, very strong, in fact. I just don't see it getting any higher than that.
Fair.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up, I don't know if that regarding the Exciton feat you had brought up earlier, because from what I know, I don't think anyone would scale to it in terms of durability. It would at most just be used for like attack potency, since if I remember correctly, no one was even remotely close to the explosion.
I don't want to necessarily air out all of Soup's dirty laundry, but I think it'd be very funny to bring up the fact that of all the scans he gave me, he has roughly twice as many counter scans against Subaru as he does for scans of Kazuma, and I think that's funny. I think that's a very Kazuma strategy.
Yeah, I was tapping into his mind, you know. To talk about that Megumin thing. This is an early explosion, season 2 explosion. Megumin can't control the exact power of her explosions. I'm sure you've read about that before. So pretty much everyone except, I'm not giving that leniency to Kazuma, but both Darkness and Aqua should very much, I think downscaling would even be quite harsh to the both of them. But I don't really want to say they should like significantly upscale and stuff like that. Pretty much they should be around the same range. That being Darkness and Aqua. So Aqua has it for AP and durability. So would Darkness. Megumin will probably only have it for attack potency, but then again, it affects her internals when she casts it. So who knows? But Kazuma the weakling should only downscale and downscale heavily. And that said, even using some of the lower explosion calcs that Kazuma possibly could, scale towards rather, would probably put him comfortably above Subaru and Beatrice, magic-wise at least. Physically, I don't think Kazuma should compare to the explosion too hard. But again, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction would probably still be slightly above that.
So if I understand, I just want to make sure I understand your argument fully. You're trying to say that, like, the Konosuba's people's magic should be, at worst, a little more powerful, but are probably significantly more powerful. But even if their magic was equal, based on how, like, their magic works, like, their physical bodies would be way above Subaru and Beatrice, to the point that if it came to throwing hands, they would kind of just beat them up easily.
Yeah, it's why I said that EMT isn't a very good idea, because now you're essentially just removing any variety that the other two have, and you're having them fight against these stat bricks. Kazuma has freaking dynamite in his pocket, and again, I might have to bring up the pianos again, you know? So I don't think actually removing mana from the entire environment is a good idea here.
So what you're saying is going to happen is Aqua's going to turn off all the magic in the area, and then it's going to be the end of Batman versus Iron Man, where Kazuma's like, no more magic, just man to man, and then just beats up Subaru, and then throws some dynamite at them to blow them up.
So Aqua can completely seal the effects of weapons. She can't completely seal someone's abilities. She hasn't been shown to seal high level stuff. I'm trying to give a bit of leniency to Beatrice here and say that Aqua probably wouldn't be able to seal the full extent of her powers, but she would definitely be able to seal a majority of it. Subaru, I mean, what's there to seal, to be honest, but he would be pretty affected by that. In terms of like mana stuff, again, I've mentioned before that Aqua has infinite mana, infinite stamina. Beatrice famously doesn't. Her entire essence is made out of mana, in fact. Just so happens that Kazuma has a spell that absorbs this. It essentially means that if Kazuma is able to catch Beatrice off guard or bind her, since bind is based off physical strength, which even if magic works for Beatrice, her physicals don't. And also Kazuma's luck. Plus, Kazuma can interact with spirits, has Mithril wire, which can also bind spirits. Essentially, Kazuma, despite Aqua is like a total counter to Beatrice, but Kazuma also has ways against Beatrice. I'm not saying Kazuma could solo Beatrice. Beatrice probably beats him like 7 times out of 10. But Kazuma does actually have ways to deal with Beatrice himself. Yeah.
All right. That's all valid arguments. And now, if we're going back to the Batman versus Iron Man comparison, there might be saying no more magic, but I'd like to bring up one little trick I had up my sleeve for Subaru. Would you please bring up Satella's interference?
Here we are.
Sub knows what this is.
I have notes for that, don't worry.
Of course you do.
What did you say this was called?
Satella's interference, I believe, is what I titled it.
Interference. Okay.
So this isn't something that happens too commonly, but in instances where Subaru is basically being put in a position where he's essentially backed into a corner in a fight, there have been cases before where Satella has essentially interfered with the fight just to make sure that Subaru isn't done for good. I don't think she'd interfere with this battle as soon as it began, but I do think that the instant that Kazuma and Aqua really start like hard pressing the advantage to the point of just becoming an uber dominant force, I wouldn't be surprised if Satella stepped in. And the problem there is Satella is kind of at the top of the verse when it comes to ReZero characters. She essentially puts everyone's level of power to shame, and I don't think anyone in Konosuba wants to be dealing with having to deal with her bad side.
All right, so let's talk a bit about that bad side then. First of all, as a footnote, Aqua's power is capable of reaching across dimensions. Now, this doesn't work for Combatants Must Be Dispatched, which is another manga by the same author. Because I'm pretty sure those are in the same universe, but in like different solar systems and stuff. But in Kemono Michi, which is also a separate manga done by the author, Aqua has like a follower there that actually is able to tap into her godliness and cast magic based off Aqua stuff. We kind of forget that she's a deity. She can do a bunch of random stuff, ignoring that, I think Aqua could actually give Satella a very bad run for her money. I think I'll talk about Satella's major abilities. We'll start with of course, Aqua resists anything Satella could possibly do to her mind or her soul. Kazuma is going to be like completely and utterly screwed here. I don't think, even if you did argue Kazuma would be like somewhat, possibly, maybe stronger. I don't even want to give him that leniency. Satella kind of just absorbs him and stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but Aqua can resist all of that. And in terms of Satella's immortality, her whole thing is that all of the big heroes of ReZero have tried their absolute hardest to kill her, but they couldn't. So they had to just seal her away. Aqua herself doesn't really have sealing abilities, but what did we forget the ability she had before? Oh, it was power seal. That's it. So essentially, she's going to be walking like, let's say 90% weaker than she normally is against Aqua. There's a strong possibility that she could even just break through that immortality entirely. Aqua has pretty much threatened to beat beings with similar immortality like Vanier. I'm sure we know Vanier, like second favorite character in Konosuba. I love him a lot. In terms of like resistances to Satella stuff, again, Vanier also helps with this for Aqua, but that's irrelevant. Satella is only immune to physical attacks. Aqua has like beams, she has spells, and of course the magic ceiling. This is going to help a lot against her. We need to remember that she does regain pretty much the full extent of her power at the end of the series. And again, this is not dumb baby whiny, I'm incredibly dumb Aqua. This is wait a minute, I have all of these stuff from Aqua. So I think should Satella actually come down, it's going to be pretty bad for her actually. It's just going to have Aqua pretty much just add her to the list of pummeling, and if she gets really mad about Kazuma, she snaps her Eris and says, "Oh yeah, start up that process again, you stupid mutt," stuff like that. Yeah.
How
All
did
right.
this fight become God versus God?
It do
I
feel like that.
thought we were just going to stick with like two kind of protagonists, isekais that one
Yeah,
just
the
can't
street-
die.
This was actually
Now-
secretly a warlock versus warlock fight the whole time. No one knew, and then
It was a ruse.
eventually their patrons had to step in to box it out.
Yeah.
All right, so this is all great stuff and all, but you did forget one other thing Satella can do.
Yeah.
What happens if Aqua just has her internal organs crushed? Can she
Choose
survive
it,
that?
yeah. Sorry to say. Again, using magic also kind of just requires your internals to be pretty intact, which is why I said it's possible for Megumi to scale to her own explosions. So Aqua, who does solidly scale 2 explosion and possibly above it, when she regains the full extent of her power, would be able to survive that. And even then, in terms of like internal stuff, I think it was what's his name? Maxwell, who tried this on Aqua, and she just kind of waved it off, Whenever like a pretty incredibly strong demon in Konosuba actually tries to go for Aqua, they always end up like completely screwed up. It happened to Wiz doesn't actually do anything, but when Vanilla tried to square up Aqua, Aqua kind of just no sells everything, but she's too stupid to actually help him to actually do anything at that point. So Kazuma and the other 3 have to do stuff about it. When she's up against Maxwell, she pretty much no sells it. And again, when she's up in the final battle, she starts sealing people's abilities and stuff. She just starts realizing that she's that person. I think Satella is going to have a lot of trouble.
Now,
Interesting.
just so that I kind of know where this is, just to make sure I remember everything, Satella is the one that brought Subaru in and gave him Return to Death.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Just so that I'm understanding, because this was a question I've been having the entire time. Would defeating Satella theoretically get rid of Return to Death?
I'm not certain. I don't think it would. I think Satella has to actively choose to take away Return by Death is how it works.
Because that's kind of the question I've been having. It's like,
I mean,
we got all these stats, we got all these abilities, and I kept thinking it's like Subaru is just going to come back.
Yeah.
So would the win con essentially be Subaru just stops fighting because he can't see an outcome to win?
That's the funny thing. He wouldn't stop fighting. Like I said, Subaru has died. I believe he's mentioned in the light novels that he has died over 1 million times by now. This dude does not stop fighting. He just refuses to give up. He has been against forces that are out of his league, and he just does not care. He is determined always to find a way to win.
I think that is kind of the fundamental question of this debate is, all else being equal, what options do these 2 characters have to stop the other one from just perpetually coming back to life to continue the fight?
The big problem I see here is a lot of what Subaru has does essentially shut down Kazuma. So Kazuma is relying more on Aqua to take care of them. The problem is if Aqua takes her eyes off of let's say Aqua takes her eyes off of Beatrice to deal with Satella. Well, now Beatrice just has free fire to take care of Aqua, for example. Or if Aqua takes her eyes off of Satella to deal with Beatrice, then that leaves her open unless she can deal with multiple forces at once.
So you're saying that they would just, in one of their attempts, kill Aqua, and that would prevent Subaru from coming back?
I don't think it would prevent Subaru from...
I just prevent Kazuma from coming back. I misspoke.
Pretty much, because once Aqua's taken out of the equation, I don't see Kazuma being able to continue at up.
Now, of course, that would be if if Aqua is dead and Kazuma like tries to come back to life anyway, he's going to be jumped. So
Yeah.
that wouldn't be very nice for him. The problem is actually putting down Aqua in the first place. In case we forgot, she has a let me quickly bring back the name of it. The spell is called Force Fire, draws the attention of opponents. If she really wants, if Kazuma can definitely notice not Kazuma, Aqua herself can actually notice the amount of power that Biko and possibly even what's her name? Satella is going to have. So if she says, "Hey, you two, target me," Kazuma, Subaru does have stuff to shut down Kazuma, but I think Kazuma has far more, evidently, according to the funny little video, that would work on Subaru. I wanted to talk about Return by Death itself. One of the possible ways that Kazuma could end this match once and for all, sleep. Yeah, remember that with the brackets? From what I do remember, Subaru, as energetic and as and as headstrong as he is, has never actually resisted any sort of sleep spell before. This would count as incapacitating him, essentially putting him out of the fight. So if and neither has Beatrice actually. Say theoretically Kazuma actually manages to land that's game over. Number two is just dealing with dealing with Satella is an option, but it seems we're not completely sure on that, and to be honest, neither am I. But there's one more, and I think that's Aqua actually dealing with Return by Death itself. Strange Trade, I think you can kind of like elaborate a bit on Return by Death in general.
I do have a quick question about the sleep win con. So it's Aqua casting sleep, right?
No, it's Kazuma.
Oh, Cosmos. Then never mind. The question I was going to ask doesn't work then. I was going to ask if Aqua's casting sleep and she has infinite magic, could she just cast a sleep spell that lasts forever, and then Subaru and Beatrice are just asleep for the rest of their lives, effectively? They're not dying, they're just asleep forever.
Is this the bad ending of Persona Royal?
That's exactly the win con.
All right.
My battery might be about to die, so I want to see if I can transfer stuff to a Google Doc and maybe rejoin back with my phone.
All right, so I would like to then quickly elaborate on the sleep thing, because there is one spell I think you guys forgot I had mentioned earlier, which is that Beatrice can essentially utilize a spell that, if I'm correct, I believe this was EMM, essentially just would essentially bring her and Subaru to another plane of existence where all magic and physical spells are just completely negated. This goes for both physical attacks and magic spells.
How would that work if they just are magically put to sleep? How would Beatrice activate the alternate dimension of no magic spells?
That's assuming that it gets both of them at once, which I'm assuming Subaru would be the primary target for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other thing I will bring up Return by Death in a second if anyone has any questions about it.
I'm just curious, is Beatrice also the type of person to see Subaru fall asleep in a battle and it just goes over and just smacks him awake?
Yeah, she could. Honestly, that's probably one of the most in-character things she would do, just slap him awake.
Because that was just playing in my mind. And
this fight does feel very D&D-y.
This is a D&D fight.
That's kind of fitting for these two, I feel like.
Yeah, they are both in these medieval fantasy worlds.
Now, the big question I have about Return from Death.
Soup might be gone. Either that or they're incredibly still.
Soup was mentioning that his battery was dying.
There we go.
All right.
We'll see if they can rejoin us in a little bit. But
yeah. I'm just curious about Return by Death. It's like, quick question. Does Beatrice know about it?
No. The only people who know about it are Satella, Subaru, and I believe
Soup also has Return by Death, apparently.
And also I believe vaguely the Witches of Sins have it. or not have, know about it, but that's because they stem from. But that's also because they are directly tied to Satella as well, so they know what she can do.
All right. Sorry, what was better?
We were just talking about Return by Death.
That's also the one other thing I would like to bring up, because a lot of the arguments I'm hearing, from what I know, would probably require Kazuma and Aqua to know about Return by Death. The problem is figuring out even just the basics of how it works, because remember, the only one who remembers anything whenever Subaru respawns is Subaru. So he'd be gaining all the information on Kazuma each time. Kazuma really wouldn't be having any way to figure out the specifics of how Return by Death works and to know to go for these specific methods of incapacitating him. Because you said he tries to end fights quickly. So I'd imagine he'd go for like lethal hits.
So let's talk about that a bit then. This is with the assumption that Subaru is being able to adapt and everything. He's learned about deadly backtraps.
Real quick, it's a little hard to hear you right now. If you're using your phone, it might be better if you talk into it like you're on a phone call. Seeing your face is great, but it's not as important as like being able to hear you audibly.
Sure, that shouldn't be a problem. I'll bring myself closer.
There we go. That's better.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, I wanted to talk about like the ability segments of it. If Subaru is notably aware of Kazuma's abilities, he is dodging everything and all of that. We assume that Kazuma is kind of like a straight guy, but he's capable of changing tactics pretty much instantly. He's done that against Wolfback. He's done that against Vanier as well. Kazuma is going to be able to adapt, and he's going to be able to see, oh, this person knows about my this. Okay, I'm going to use this. And it kind of keeps on going until Kazuma eventually just thinks, because I would think sleep is pretty much, it's very high up in like the stuff that would probably end the fight instantly. So it's like, okay, deadly backstab didn't work. Explosion didn't work. Somehow it didn't work. Why not just put them to sleep? That's one thing. How would they know about RBD itself, though? Here's the thing. It's not like RBD is one chicken curse or something like that. It's up there. Function of reality, laws, all of that, themes and stuff. The problem with that is Aqua can see these very integral curses. In fact, it's part of her eyes of providence. It's built into her physiology to be able to see stuff like that. If she couldn't see it for some reason, she can also smell these things. Yeah, that's the thing. So I do think that there's even the possibility of Aqua completely purifying that. One might argue that that wouldn't work because, Subaru, like, Return by Death is pretty layered, to say the least. It's pretty much like part of the part of the functions of reality and all of that, authority and such. Aqua can kind of just override that is the problem, In fact, it's kind of an entire thing, overriding authority, breaking stuff that no one else can break. She, of course, is able to seal the Demon King, who should even be immune to stuff like that. She's able to steal all of these weapons that are deemed cheat weapons. In fact, she's the one that even makes them while she has her goddess abilities, and she's able to steal them pretty easily, like completely. I think it's entirely possible that Aqua could actually completely purify Return by Death and maybe help end Subaru's suffering once and for all.
Oh, but you forgot about one thing. There has been one case where someone almost was informed of Return by Death, and that's where Satella once again steps in. She doesn't like people finding out Return by Death. The instant Aqua does have any way of sensing it, once again, Satella's going to step in, and I know you mentioned earlier that Satella was heavily weakened. I would like to point out, as I mentioned earlier, Satella is still leagues above everyone else in ReZero. This would include characters like Reinhardt, and also the peak form of Puck, both of which are, if I remember correctly, at least in terms of the planetary levels of power. So no matter how much you then downscale, Satella, she's still above the highest ends that you can get with Konosuba.
Okay, we're talking about planetary Puck now. Okay, I do have notes for that. That's awesome. So this calc, of course, assumes that Puck is instantly freezing the entire planet to absolute zero. But no, that's not how that feat works at all. It's an environmental thing. It's gradual. It gets very high into the pentatons, but it's not a planet level feat. Yeah, that's about it. Also, Satella isn't league stronger than Reinhardt. Reinhardt is actually stronger than her. The problem is that Reinhardt couldn't kill her because, immortality and all of that. So I do think Satella scaling to Reinhardt physically is pretty, it's legit. It's like durable. I have no problems with that, of course, but it's not like she's completely upscaling. It's kind of the opposite. It's just kind of lucky that immortality exists because Reinhardt, those guys would have put her down pretty damn easily. I mean, you've seen the sheer amount of stuff those two can do.
Regardless, it doesn't change the fact that even if you heavily downscale her level of power because she's been sealed, it still put her at least several times stronger than the best we've seen of Konosuba.
It does?
It should, from my knowledge. And again, I will also bring up that as long as you buy the black hole being legitimate in terms of just magic power, she should be at least on par with that, since Beatrice has the magic power to summon that.
If I remember how we were arguing for AP so far, I think that the general idea is that Soup's argument for the low exitons of AP would be higher than what Satella can reasonably scale to, if we assume the black hole stuff is invalid. If the black hole stuff is invalid, then the moon level explosion would trump.
The problem is I don't see how the black hole would be invalid. There's nothing that really contradicts it at the moment. It's just a very high-end spell that can only be used once, really.
How powerful was the black hole in Ash versus Yugi? I'm gonna go on a side quest, y'all. I'm gonna go on a side quest. Y'all keep.
I think that one got star level, if I remember.
Yeah.
That was Gardevoir's black hole. That was a small black hole.
I'm gonna go on a side quest. Y'all continue the debate.
Again, I have a lot of problems with the black hole. I think it's not even like legit at all. I didn't even think you were going to bring it up because it's so not AP. Like, it's not even like in the question, if you ask me. But man, if I had like specific stuff against it, I probably would have said it. I don't really. You're just going to have to trust me on this, that I have read up about this black hole. I'm pretty sure it's more of a hacks-based thing than it is for attack potency.
I think I guess I kind of get where you're coming from. I think it's very much something where it's up to personal interpretation, but my interpretation of it is that it should be at least somewhat legitimate.
The Ash versus Yugi black hole was star level. Also, I put up a poll asking the chat if sleep was a valid win con, and 62% say that sleep is a valid win con for this fight.
Okay.
I can understand that if it's something that Kazuma goes for frequently, but otherwise he's gonna have to figure out return by death.
I think the argument would have to be like Kazuma successfully puts both of them asleep for a significant amount of time before either of them permanently put down Kazuma.
Yeah.
Sleep can work for 30 minutes if I recall correctly, so that wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Another thing, I do think there's another one. I've mentioned the BFR before. And that is pretty much Kazuma uses this in the final battle as well. The final battle is like really awesome for scaling and stuff because it just kind of confirms everything for me. Kazuma can just send the both of them to Ares domain. One would assume that, okay, Subaru would just kill himself. Horrify Beatrice, maybe, but, it's worth it to win in the end. So, I forgot to get the scan, but Ares domain actually does have a different time flow from from what we're actually used to. It's pretty much like a different timeline entirely. And while Satella has been shown to, be able to pull Subaru from dimensions, I mean, it's how the story started in the first place. She hasn't actually been able to reach into different timelines. There's a strong possibility that if Subaru mistakenly killed himself while in heaven, or if Kazuma just punched him to death there, Subaru just dies completely.
So if I'm correct, I'm going to assume that unless it's quite literally just like in a different timeline specifically, I don't think it's too unreasonable to assume Satella could still drag him out. And I'm going to get into, because again, remember I mentioned she was the one who essentially dragged him into the world of ReZero. I also don't see why. I think that brings me to the other point that he wouldn't even need to, as a result, necessarily kill himself. Satella could still essentially just yoink him out hypothetically while he's still alive.
You make it sound like Subaru escaped a cage as a cat, and Stella's like the owner, putting him back into the cage.
Might as well be.
I'm just
No,
imagining
you gotta be
that
back here.
Invincible Cecil meme. Satella, I need you, Satella.
But
now
yeah,
we
I'm very
agree
iffy on the timeline thing then.
The heaven thing is it's pretty much legit. From what we discussed on the Nebula Theater Discord, that's a plug right there. You guys should join that.
Join the
Pretty
Nebula
awesome.
Theater Discord. We have
You
a
guys
lot
should
of fun
probably join
talks
that.
Dang,
about
I
a
should
lot of
do that
different
too.
matchups.
Maybe then I should have done that.
You guys should do that right now. Actually, it's pretty cool. From what we discussed there, I'm pretty sure the scan is there, but I'm not going to bother pulling it up. Aqua just outright says, "Oh, this place is like a different timeline and stuff. It works completely different from our reality. It's like someone looking directly into the camera and going, I am out of virtual and immeasurable speed, and I happen to stomp bugs from Looney Tunes specifically." It's kind of like that, but for the timeline thing. She just outright, she's the one that gives the dialogue and stuff that Aries places different timeline, time flows differently and stuff like that.
By the way, just real quick, because we brought up, I will put the invite for the Nebula Theater Discord in the chat, and it'll be in the description of the live stream for after the fact if people are interested.
All right, so I can kind of see the argument then. Once again, I'm not completely convinced on it. I don't know. There's something about the way it's phrased that just does sound kind of off as like, oh, it's quite literally just a different timeline. What I could understand is if it's more so being phrased to say like, oh, time flows differently here than it does in this world, but it'd still be just another dimension or universe is how I feel like, just with different flow of time. That's how I feel like it's supposed to be explained.
I feel like this entire debate has now boiled down to, if Aqua is stronger than Stella, then she should be able to erase but return by death. But if Stella's still stronger than Aqua, then it doesn't matter where Subaru is, she'll just yank him.
And I think that part is up to interpretation, is the thing with certain feats.
Yeah.
Do we think we're in final argument territory?
I'm okay with that.
Probably.
I feel like this is final argument.
I will throw up the poll. Strange Fate, you can give your final argument first.
All right. I will start out by saying I have immense respect for Soup, and I am insanely impressed with just how much you prepared for this. You definitely had a lot of counters that I was not expecting. You prepared your arguments very well. So my argument is still, though, all of this is at the end of the day requiring a bunch of what ifs to go completely right. What if they don't? Because at the end of the day, it's requiring them to A, have all the knowledge about how return by death works. B, it's requiring Kazuma to decide to go for incapacitation rather than a lethal kill, which from what I remember of Konosuba, he usually does prefer to just outright kill opponents and not incapacitate them. And even then, I think that if we go by just opening up the fight with Beatrice isn't going to waste any time. She's just going to want everyone. She's just going to want both Aqua and Kazuma dead immediately and just kill them both right on the spot. I do think that the scaling can be somewhat put up into interpretation, but at the end of the day, I think bare minimum, just Satella alone would be probably just at least a bit stronger than what we've seen of Kazuma or Aqua, and would be a final nuke. I could see arguments being made for Kazuma. I will not deny it, but I do think it's a bit too much. Everything has to go right in his favor for it to be a win.
Okay. Soup, what would your final argument be for why Kazuma and Aqua should win?
You know, sometimes I wish there was like a way that Kazuma had like, you know, a stat or something that could help things go in his way, you know? Like something integral. Hang on. That's his luck stat, isn't it? I'm not saying that Kazuma has like passive probability manipulation or something, that his luck has never been that strong. I am saying that he has bankrupted an entire casino before with that luck. Combined with his intelligence, which is very up there, Aqua, who can pretty much nullify everything Beatrice and Satella could possibly do. I'm going to think that it's kind of like this. Subaru's greatest enemy is like he has never been like an archbishop or a witch courtess or something. It's been like Satella, you know. It's the curse of love. It's forced him to die and die again for hundreds of years across thousands of different you know, dimensions and stuff. It's very unfortunate. But Kazuma's greatest ally is a goddess, a literal goddess. A useless, kind, and petulant goddess, however, but she is a goddess who happens to be a divine being capable of breaking pretty much everything that these two have to offer. Aqua can see curses. Aqua can purify curses. Aqua has authority over. Aqua would definitely have authority over Satella. Should you buy, she's stronger, which I see no reason not to, considering the all of the question marks with the black hole. But she is, by the hierarchy of the birth, above anything Satella could hope to be. We just happen to forget all about this because she's spending everyone's money and being stupid. So when Subaru loops, when he tries again to overcome this fight, eventually Aqua is going to tag him and is going to look at this poor suffering boy, and she's going to go away, and then she you know, Satella can't override that. A witch cannot override the deity. Subaru is now free, the curse is now broken, the fight is over, and Kazuma can now stab him to death. Like the very nice guy I promise he is. But this is a death battle. That's my closing argument.
Yes, how nice. I will stab you.
Yes, he's a nice guy. R/nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
R/ technically the truth.
Alright, I think I'll give my verdict first. I just want to say this debate has been genuinely fascinating. Sometimes I think casts are funnier if one opponent knows nothing about the other debater's opponent, but I think this is a great example of when both people know the characters very well, you can have a very interesting, in-depth discussion that's very interesting to hear about, and y'all both did great. Now, as for who I think wins, y'all did argue for speed being similar, so I don't think one's going to have the advantage over the other. In terms of AP, it's really a big question on whether the black hole is legit or not, because it's almost just like your word versus your word in terms of like whether the black hole is valid or not. Because I know black hole feats always have a lot of context, as if it just takes magic ability to create a black hole, and that's how it works in the magic system. I can't think of a good reason why that wouldn't be valid scaling for the power of their magic, based on what I've heard here today in this cast. So by that logic, the black hole should, at a minimum, be like a little bit stronger than the explosion magic they have. And at that point, it becomes a thing where if they are more powerful than Aqua and Kazuma, then it kind of just becomes a thing where... Alright, so I think what I'm landing on is Kazuma and Aqua seem stronger than Subaru, because Subaru doesn't really scale to the black hole, but Beatrice's magic would be more powerful, and thereby Satella, who is more powerful than Beatrice, would also be more powerful than Aqua and Kazuma, based on what I've heard today. And if that's the case, then I think they don't have a great way to circumvent Return by Death by, like, taking down Satella or breaking the curse. The only real option would be the sleep, which has been deemed valid by the chat. But I think if Subaru and... Not Subaru, but if Beatrice is physically has more powerful magic, then she would be able to just kill them. But then they would just come back because of Eris. Damn, this is tricky. Man.
You talked yourself in a corner.
First time that's happened, probably.
Corner.
Do they have the ability to kill each other? Because I don't know if there's a good way to stop Eris from just bringing them back, which, if we're bringing in Satella, I don't see why we wouldn't include Eris.
And like the sheer amount of resistance as well on Aqua's side.
But
Maybe I should have added a stalemate
Eris?
option to the poll. But it's too late for that. 10 people have already voted for the yes or no, so I can't add a stalemate option now.
But then couldn't hypothetically Satella just kill Eris as well?
I don't know why she wouldn't. Yeah. I'm running out of time here.
Alright, I'm gonna say Subaru wins, but it's tricky. I don't know. Eris throws a... I'll say Kazuma wins with the sleep win condition, because I don't know how they get rid of Eris based on the time we have right now.
Alright, my turn. I'll keep it brief. It does kind of, a similar point, come down to, is Stella strong enough to deal with Aqua and I guess also Eris? I'm assuming Aqua's the strongest one out of all the gods. Am I right in that, or is it Eris?
Yeah.
They're around the same range, but she's like a senior, but she's the top tier. Yeah.
Got it. I kind of do buy the black hole a little bit, because out of all the counters you have, you didn't have a counter for that one. I'm sorry, Sue.
I did actually. I mentioned break spell, which would actually just erase that.
Yeah, but it's just I do buy that the black hole is like a legit magical black hole, and then that would scale. And I think they could. Okay, you bring up Eris now. Okay, no, I think Stella gets involved, especially if Eris gets involved, and it's going to be a wrap. So I'm going to go with Subaru.
All right, and I will end the poll, which is, out of 10 votes, we have 70% for Subaru. So we had 1 vote for Kazuma and 2 for Subaru. So Subaru is the winner for today's cast. This was very, very interesting. And it kind of reminds me of like the lose and debate, where it's just, well, whose revive is better. But this was fun.
I've always found this interesting as a matchup. I've always considered this to be kind of similar to the Chosen Undead versus the Dragonborn, but just in reverse this time, where the one that can constantly revive is the one that wins.
I think out of all the matchups for the two characters, I think after listening to a debate like this, it kind of just seems like these are like a very good pairing for the two guys.
It's
like
a very fun one, because it also has like the meta thing. Like, I know a lot of people know that these two have like a lot of interactions in Isekai Quartet, but there's also the fun thing that, well, you can notice the similarities between these two. Like, for example, their romantic interests both have the same Japanese voice actress. And Megami.
It's trying to vote actors as a whole.
But also, there's the whole thing, funnily enough, if I remember correctly, their authors are just straight up really good friends.
Yeah.
It's not just a legacy matchup, it's also just a good matchup.
Very true.
No, it's a good. They have so many abilities that can play off each other. Like, when you were talking about it, I was just thinking about how the fight would play, and I'm like, that would happen. That'd be cool. Yeah. That would be cool. That would be cool. The banter seems like it'd be fun. This is like one of those matches where it's like, yeah, no shit.
I think one of the things I've always envisioned is like there'd be like the middle segment would just be like sort of like a montage of like Return by Death being triggered constantly, and then that leads to the climax where no longer it gets triggered. Subaru has just finally figured out his opponent. So now everyone's just locked in, and it's an all-out war of who really pulls it out first.
And I'm imagining the deaths go like from very serious to just a piano falling on Subaru.
just a freaking Looney Tunes death at one point.
This is absolutely not in character for either of them, but I like to imagine it's kind of like the ending of Wukong versus Hercules, where Satella and Eris in a higher dimension just like clashing in the background. Which is not how that would work, but it's funny imagery.
I don't think anyone watching this probably expected that a battle between these two characters who, in the nicest way possible, are perceived as losers in their own verse,
I know.
would end up turning into a war between literal goddesses.
I would say.
I would say they're technically losers.
I mean like in a nice way for Subaru, but they freaking hate Kazuma. But he's a nice guy, I swear.
I mean, there are people that hate Subaru too. He goes a bit overboard at times. I don't say this. I say loser as a compliment. It's like the lovable dork type of thing.
Yeah.
I know some of us have places to go, so I think I can wrap it up here. This is a great cast, guys. Soup, Strange Fake, thanks for joining us today. Thank all of you for watching our cast today. Nebula Theater, join link to the Discord in the chat. We talk about all kinds of stuff like this. Nebula Theater, episode 2, Subaru versus Kazuma. Will the episode agree with us or will it not? You'll have to find out in a couple days from now. April 10th is when that's coming out.
You will find out if you see an angry comment from me or not.
We'll be getting the trailer shortly, so y'all look forward to that. And with all that said, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.